Heather Harper Ellett grew up in the Piney Woods. That's East Texas, y'all. She'd always dreamed of being a writer and found her true love in a creative writing class at SMU, her future husband, Brian. She kept the dream alive for a few years as life took her in other directions, until now with the release of her first novel, a mystery, titled Ain't Nobody Nobody. Heather participated in a recent panel discussion with other mystery writers at Book People in Austin and took time out to sit down for an interview with Austin Liti Limit's Scott Semigren.
Welcome, Heather Harper Ellett.
Thank you.
To our show. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here with us today. Let's start with the title of your fantastic novel, Ain't Nobody Nobody. So on the surface, it sounds like nonsense, but if you parse it, there's some rural wisdom that is there. What does the title mean to you?
Well, I was raised to think of everyone as equal and no one is beneath us. And that is a very important part of my family. And I always joke that if we went to Manhattan, my mother would stop and talk to literally everyone on the street because she's just one of those people.
My mother was that way too. She would just
engages with everyone. Yeah. And it's out of this pure curiosity of knowing where someone comes from and just this love of people. And you know, sometimes in society we don't always do that. We're on our phones instead of actually looking at the grocery store checker. And I think that's kind of a sad thing, and so that's really a homage to that, I guess, that everyone is somebody.
Right. Do you think that's part of this Southern hospitality that people from the South are generally like I could walk into a grocery store and start talking to somebody, and maybe in different parts of the country it's not like that?
Yeah, and I don't know. I've lived in Texas my entire life, but I know that whenever I moved to Austin from Dallas, I was struck by the fact that it took probably twice as long to get through a checkout lane in Austin than it did in Dallas, because I feel like in Dallas we are a little bit more like, we gotta go, you know? And I don't think it's rude, it's just we're quick, and so that was a funny thing. So I think it just depends on where you're from.
Right. Excellent. So the novel walks a moral tightrope in a lot of different instances, and the protagonist, Randi May Hill, from what I know of you, is very different than you. Why Randi May Hill as a protagonist for this particular book? Well,
this story, Randi May Hill was born out of the original idea of the story, if I may go into that for a second.
Sure.
Is that we were walking on my family's East Texas land, and we saw a bunch of grasshoppers and lizards impaled on barbed wire. And I learned that shrikes, little birds, actually put those there, and they pick them apart shish kebab style.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I had never really noticed that before. And then I started thinking, oh, that'd be kind of a interesting start to a novel if a person was somehow impaled on barbed wire. And so again, I asked my mother, who is a genius in so many wonderful ways. I asked her, what would you do if you walked out and you saw a dead body on our barbed wire fence? And she said, well, I wouldn't call the police. And I said, well, why not? And she said, well, because probably someone in the family did it. And I loved that answer so much because it speaks to all sorts of levels of loyalty and
privacy, maybe.
And
I guess.
privacy, all of it, but really the loyalty side of it. And so I was thinking about a person who was just loyal to a fault. And if you go through the book, we see all of the expressions of loyalty, both good and bad. And I just really wanted to explore that in its depth.
So that brings up a gajillion questions for me. Why would your mother answer that way? Did you not have all right, what has happened in our past? It sounds like a lead into some secrets there.
No, my mother also, she watches a lot of crime shows and listens to crime podcasts. She's one of those people, and so she already just kind of thinks in this dark way.
Right.
And so I wasn't too worried about it.
Right. Excellent. So your novel is filled with a lot of eccentric characters and zany townsfolk. And although your book is categorized as a mystery, how important is humor to you in your writing? Because the first half of the book is there's really some really funny scenes and interactions between the characters. So how important is humor to you in your writing?
Well, humor is just important to me in life. I feel like it is the number one important coping mechanism that anyone can have. And so I was writing about pretty tragic stuff at the end of the day. I mean, the book is pretty tragic. And I don't feel like you can write tragedy without humor, so I wasn't setting out to write, some laugh-a-minute kind of book, but I think by virtue of writing about tragedy, you have to write about comedy.
Right.
That makes sense.
If you could give your younger writer self any advice, what would it be?
I love that question. It would probably be just to write and not be such a perfectionist about it and just get out whatever's on the page. I mean, morning pages are supposedly, the antidote to that. I've never been able to do morning pages because I do have an agenda for whenever I sit down. And so I would hope that if I had told my younger self just to let it flow and I could somehow make that happen, that maybe my older self would have gotten that lesson by now.
Right. How did publishing your first book change your writing process?
I'm more aware of what people seem to hone in on, what readers seem to hone in on. And I mean, I'm brand new to this, and so this might change, but one thing that has struck me by getting reviews or just hearing even my friends talk about it are certain lines and certain plot points that people resonated with. And they're not necessarily ones that I would predict, even with friends that I know really well. There's a big plot point in here about dogs, and Randi May Hill is a dog rescuer. And while I really loved that plot point and I thought it was fun, that one was a really big one for a lot of people in my life. Everyone kept talking about the dogs, and I found that delightful, but I wouldn't have guessed it. I want to say, like, what about the dead body?
So what about negative commentary or bad reviews? How do you feel you take that?
I feel like I've done okay with it because I was very clear from the beginning, and my agent was very clear, and my publisher was very clear that this is a very specific sense of humor that not everyone will resonate with, and I kind of am used to that as a human being too at this point. So not everyone's going to love you, and yeah, you want everybody to. I wish everyone who picked up the book would be like, yes, this is the best thing I've ever read, but
the writer's fantasy.
Yeah,
Everybody's going to love it.
Yeah, but if everyone loves what you're doing, you're probably not doing something right.
Right. My wife and kids are very supportive of my writing career. Is your family supportive of you being a writer?
Absolutely. So my husband and I always say we fell in love in creative writing class at SMU. And so, and he's a wonderful writer who doesn't write. But he is,
interesting.
Yeah, and he's an incredible editor, and I'm an incredible brainstormer, and so he has been with me through sentence one of this book. And my son is 7, and I've been writing this book the entire time he's been alive, not for the absolute entirety, but he's seen the process. And even on days when I'm like, man, I really can't get this scene, he just says, well, hey, add some ninjas or something like that.
Good advice.
Yeah, and he's trying to contribute, and I really appreciate that.
Right.
And so he used the word red herring in kindergarten,
Nice.
and I had some real personal pride there. But so the book has really been a labor of love for the family, but even my extended family, my family who is still in East Texas, they were giving me all sorts of good information about, well, you need really acidic, or you'll have really acidic soil because of all the pine needles, so you need to neutralize that with lime if you're going to grow something,
Right.
And
Nice.
my cousin is a large animal vet, and so he gave me every fact I could possibly want about feral hogs, and in here includes my dad's feral hog bait recipe, and so it really was a community effort. And I will say especially that my extended family, they are not artistic people at all. They're very science-minded kind of people. And never once was anyone saying, this is a ridiculous thing for you to do. Why would you waste your time writing? The entire time they were just saying, go, 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 and cheering
Excellent.
for me. So,
That's very nice.
yeah, that would make me cry.
So now this is the time in the show where we do the lightning round. It's a format that we stole from Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton, who he stole from several writers before. It's 10 simple questions. Doesn't have to have an elaborate answer. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What is your favorite word?
Oh, I tend to put the word seriously in an email probably 15 times, and my son says it a lot. He goes, seriously? So, seriously.
Excellent. What is your least favorite word?
Literally?
Adverbs. What's up with the adverbs? Okay.
The question is gonna haunt me all night.
It might. It might. What turned you on?
Literarily, voice, absolutely.
Excellent. What turned you off?
Pretension.
What is your idea of happiness?
Trees, nature, connection.
Feral hogs, maybe.
Feral hogs, yeah.
Who's your favorite author?
I've probably read the most of Emily Mandel and Megan Abbott.
You have to pick one.
Gosh. Right now I'm going to go with Megan Abbott.
Excellent, excellent. If you could be a character in any well-known novel, who would that be?
Ooh. I should have prepared for that one. Any well-known novel. Okay, yeah, so Emily Mandel, Station 11, I would be Kirsten, the girl who, the child actress who survived into the apocalypse, and she carries around knives, missing some teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Because, I mean, she's gritty and she gets to do art, yeah.
Sounds like a badass.
Yeah.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Like in real life, like
in
actually
real life,
be
right.
able
Like
to
if you weren't a writer, weren't doing the therapy thing, what would, like let's moonshot it. What's something that you would like to attempt?
Oh, I would like to be a naturalist of some sort, you know, maybe like a tour guide in the Yukon or something like that.
Nice.
You'd probably have to be less terrified of giant grizzly bears than I am. But,
Just need bear spray.
Yeah, bear spray.
What profession would you least like to do?
Oh. I mean, today, politician.
Mm-hmm.
Though we need my ideas because they're spot on.
That's true. That's true. Okay, last one. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you get to the check-in desk?
Oh, that's good. I know you tried your best.
You did all right.
You did, yeah. Bless your heart. Yeah,
Good.
I would feel pretty good about that.
Well, Heather Harper Ellett, good luck to you. Thank you for being on our show, and I hope great success to you.
This is fun. Thank you. Great success to you.